Heading: The Final Stand. The final battle took place in the heart of New York City. The Resistance fighters, led by Ethan and Leora, faced off against the Vracs in a desperate bid to protect their home. The streets were littered with debris, and the air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning metal. Leora's prototype weapon was their only hope. As they fought their way through the Vracs' forces, they knew that they had to reach the command ship, the key to the Vracs' communication network. If they could disable it, they could disrupt the Vracs' coordination and give the Resistance a fighting chance. The journey to the command ship was fraught with danger. The Vracs' soldiers were relentless, and their weapons were devastating. But Ethan and Leora pressed on, their determination unwavering. Heading: The Sacrifice. As they neared the command ship, they were confronted by the Vracs' commander, a towering figure of immense power. The commander unleashed a devastating energy blast, threatening to obliterate them both. But Leora was ready. She activated the prototype weapon, emitting a powerful electromagnetic pulse that disrupted the Vracs' technology and neutralized their weapons. The commander, weakened and vulnerable, was no match for Ethan and Leora. They fought with a ferocity born of desperation and love, finally defeating the commander and scattering the Vracs' forces. But the victory came at a cost. Leora had used the last of her energy to activate the weapon, and she collapsed in Ethan's arms, her body weak and battered. "Leora," Ethan whispered, his voice filled with anguish. "Don't leave me." Leora smiled weakly, her emerald eyes filled with love. "I'll always be with you, Ethan. Always." And with that, she closed her eyes, her body going limp in Ethan's arms. Heading: The Aftermath. The Vracs' forces, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat. The Resistance fighters, emboldened by their victory, pressed the attack, driving the Vracs out of the city and back into the depths of space. But for Ethan, the victory was bittersweet. He had lost the woman he loved, the woman who had shown him that there was more to life than just survival. He knew that Leora's sacrifice had saved humanity, but it didn't make the pain any easier to bear. As the city began to rebuild, Ethan found solace in the knowledge that Leora's legacy would live on. She had shown him the power of love, courage, and the enduring spirit of humanity. And he knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the same determination and hope that Leora had inspired in him. Heading: A New Beginning. In the months that followed, Ethan and the Earth Resistance worked tirelessly to rebuild the city and prepare for the possibility of another invasion. They knew that the Vracs would return, but they also knew that they were ready to fight, ready to protect their home, and ready to honor Leora's memory. Ethan found himself drawn to the stars, to the vast expanse of space that had brought Leora into his life. He knew that there were other worlds out there, other civilizations that needed help and protection. And he knew that, one day, he would follow in Leora's footsteps and explore the galaxy, spreading the message of hope and unity that she had fought so hard to protect. As he stood on the rooftop of a skyscraper, looking out over the city, Ethan felt a sense of peace. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. And he knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would face them with the same courage and determination that Leora had shown him. And so, the story of Ethan and Leora, the Earth bartender and the alien emissary, became a legend, a testament to the power of love, courage, and the enduring spirit of humanity. They had faced a galactic threat, defied their own people, and built a bridge between worlds. And in doing so, they had saved not only Earth but also the Etherians, ushering in an era of peace and prosperity that would last for generations to come. Heading: The Sky Turns Black. The day of the invasion began like any other, but it didn't take long for the world to realize that something was terribly wrong. The sky, once a brilliant blue, turned an ominous shade of black as the Vracs warships descended upon Earth. The sheer size of the fleet was staggering, hundreds of ships, each one bristling with weapons and technology far beyond human comprehension. In New York City, panic spread like wildfire. People ran through the streets, their faces etched with fear as they tried to make sense of the chaos. The government's attempts to maintain order were futile, the sheer scale of the invasion was too much for any one nation to handle. But amidst the chaos, the Earth resistance stood firm. Ethan and Leora had spent weeks preparing for this moment, and they were ready to fight. They had set up a command center in an abandoned warehouse, where they coordinated their efforts and monitored the Vrax's movements. Leora's advanced technology gave them a crucial advantage. She had hacked into the Vrax's communication network, allowing the resistance to anticipate their strategies and exploit their weaknesses. But even with this edge, the odds were stacked against them. The Vrax were a formidable enemy, and their sheer numbers were overwhelming. Heading: the first strike. The first wave of the invasion hit New York City with brutal force. The Vrax warships unleashed a barrage of laser fire, reducing buildings to rubble and sending plumes of smoke into the air. The resistance fighters, armed with makeshift weapons and outdated technology, fought valiantly, but they were no match for the Vrax's superior firepower. Ethan and Leora led the charge, their determination unwavering despite the odds. They had trained for this moment, and they were determined to protect their home at all costs. But as the battle raged on, it became clear that they were fighting a losing battle. Leora's heart ached as she watched the city she had come to love being torn apart. She knew that the Etherian High Council had the power to stop the Vrax, but they had refused to intervene. She felt a surge of anger and frustration, but she also knew that she couldn't give up, not now, not when so much was at stake. Heading: a desperate plan. As the battle raged on, Ethan and Leora realized that they needed a new strategy. They couldn't defeat the Vrax through sheer force alone, they needed to outsmart them. Leora suggested using Marcus's research to create a weapon that could disrupt the Vrax's technology, giving the resistance a fighting chance. Ethan agreed, and they set to work immediately. Using Marcus's notes and Leora's advanced technology, they began to develop a prototype weapon. It was a risky plan, but it was their only hope. As they worked, the bond between Ethan and Leora grew stronger. They had started out as strangers from different worlds, but now they were united by a common goal, a goal that transcended their differences and brought them closer together. Heading: the turning point. The turning point came when the resistance managed to capture a Vrax soldier. Leora used her technology to extract information from the soldier's neural implant, revealing crucial details about the Vrax's plans and weaknesses. With this information, Ethan and Leora were able to refine their prototype weapon. They knew that it was a long shot, but it was their only chance to turn the tide of the battle. As they prepared to deploy the weapon, Ethan took Leora's hand, his expression serious. "No matter what happens, I want you to know that I believe in you, in us. We can do this." Leora nodded, her emerald eyes filled with determination. "Together," she said firmly. And with that, they set off to face the Vrax, ready to fight for their home, their love, and the future of humanity. Heading: the secrets of the past. As the days turned into weeks, Leora and Ethan's bond deepened. They spent countless hours together, exploring the city, sharing stories, and learning from each other. But beneath the surface of their growing relationship, secrets lurked, secrets that threatened to tear them apart. One evening, as they sat in Ethan's apartment, Leora noticed a photograph on the wall. It was of a man who bore a striking resemblance to Ethan, but with a haunted expression that sent a shiver down her spine. "Who is that?" Leora asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Ethan's expression darkened. "That's my father, Marcus. He was a complicated man. He spent his life chasing shadows, convinced that there was something out there, something beyond our understanding." Leora's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. He was a scientist, obsessed with the idea of extraterrestrial life. He claimed to have made contact with an alien race, but no one believed him. They said he was crazy, that he was just another conspiracy theorist. But I always wondered if there was some truth to his claims. Leora's mind raced. Could Marcus have been in contact with the Etherians? Or was it something else entirely? She knew she had to find out more. Ethan, she said carefully, do you still have any of your father's research? Ethan nodded. Yeah, I have a box of his old journals and notes. Why? Leora hesitated, knowing that revealing too much could jeopardize her mission. But she also knew that she couldn't keep lying to Ethan, not if they were going to have any kind of future together. I think I might be able to help you understand what your father was trying to achieve, she said finally. But you have to promise me that you'll keep an open mind. Ethan's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. All right. Let's see what you've got. Heading: The Journals of Marcus. As they pored over Marcus's journals, Leora's suspicions were confirmed. Marcus had indeed been in contact with an extraterrestrial race, but not the Etherians. Instead, he had stumbled upon evidence of a hostile alien force known as the Vrax Collective, a ruthless empire that sought to conquer and exploit weaker civilizations. According to Marcus's notes, the Vrax had been monitoring Earth for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. He had tried to warn the government, but his warnings had fallen on deaf ears. Desperate, he had turned to the Etherians, hoping to form an alliance against the Vrax. But the Etherian High Council, wary of humanity's volatile nature, had refused to intervene. Leora's heart sank as she read Marcus's final entry: the Vrax are coming. They will stop at nothing to destroy us. If anyone finds this, know that the only hope lies in the hands of the Etherians. They are our only chance. Ethan looked up from the journal, his face pale. Is this real? Leora nodded, her expression grim. I'm afraid so. The Vrax are a very real threat, and they're closer than you think. Ethan's mind raced. He had always dismissed his father's theories as the ramblings of a madman, but now he realized that Marcus had been right all along. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. What do we do? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Leora took his hand, her emerald eyes filled with determination. We fight, she said firmly. We rally the resistance, expose the truth, and prepare for the coming battle. But we can't do it alone. We need allies, people who are willing to stand up and fight for what's right. Ethan nodded, a newfound resolve burning in his eyes. Then let's get to work. Heading: The Resistance Rises. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and Leora worked tirelessly to build a network of allies. They reached out to scientists, hackers, and former military personnel, anyone who had the skills and the courage to stand against the Vrax. They called themselves the Earth Resistance, a ragtag group of individuals united by a common goal: to protect their home from the impending invasion. Leora used her advanced technology to hack into government databases, uncovering classified information about the Vrax and their plans. She also reached out to the Etherian High Council, pleading with them to reconsider their stance on humanity. But the Council remained unmoved, their distrust of humanity too deep to overcome. Meanwhile, Ethan used his connections in the underground to gather resources and weapons. He knew that they were outmatched in terms of firepower, but he also knew that they had something the Vrax didn't: ingenuity and determination. As the days passed, the tension in the city grew. Reports of strange lights in the sky and unexplained phenomena began to surface, and the government's attempts to cover up the truth only fueled the rumors. The people were scared, but they were also angry at being kept in the dark, angry at the thought of an alien invasion. Ethan and Leora knew that the time was coming. The Vrax were on their way, and the Earth Resistance had to be ready. They trained tirelessly, honing their skills and preparing for the battle of their lives. But as the day of the invasion drew near, Leora found herself torn. Her loyalty to the Etherian High Council clashed with her growing love for Ethan and her belief in humanity's potential. She knew that she would have to make a choice that would determine not only her fate but the fate of two worlds. Heading: the calm before the storm. The night before the invasion, Ethan and Leora stood on the rooftop of a skyscraper, looking out over the city. The lights of New York twinkled like stars, a testament to the resilience and creativity of humanity. But beneath the surface, the city was a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. Ethan took Leora's hand, his expression serious. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "Once we start this fight, there's no turning back." Leora nodded, her emerald eyes filled with determination. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Humanity deserves a chance, and I believe in you, in us." Ethan smiled, a rare moment of warmth in the midst of the chaos. "Then let's do this. Together." As they stood there, hand in hand, they knew that the battle ahead would be the hardest of their lives. But they also knew that they had something worth fighting for, a love that transcended worlds, and a belief in the power of unity and hope. The Vraks were coming, and the Earth resistance was ready. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but Ethan and Leora were determined to fight for a future where love and understanding could triumph over fear and destruction. And so, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, they prepared to face the storm, a storm that would test their courage, their strength, and their love. But no matter what happened, they knew that they would face it together. Heading: the mysterious encounter. The night sky over New York City was ablaze with the usual cacophony of lights, but something was different. A faint, almost imperceptible shimmer rippled through the atmosphere, unnoticed by the millions of inhabitants below. In a secluded alleyway, a figure materialized, her presence as enigmatic as the stars themselves. Her name was Leora, an emissary from a distant galaxy, sent to Earth on a mission that would change the course of human history. Leora's violet skin glowed softly under the dim streetlights, her silver hair cascading down her back like a waterfall of moonlight. Her emerald eyes, flecked with gold, scanned her surroundings with a mixture of curiosity and caution. She had been briefed on Earth's chaotic nature, but nothing could have prepared her for the sensory overload of the city. The blaring car horns, the chatter of pedestrians, and the overwhelming scent of street food created a tapestry of human life that was both fascinating and bewildering. Her mission was clear: assess the potential of humanity as allies or threats. The Etherian High Council, the governing body of her species, had deemed Earth a planet of interest due to its rapid technological advancements and its paradoxical nature, capable of both great destruction and profound creativity. Leora's task was to gather data, observe human behavior, and report back to the Council. But as she stepped out of the shadows and into the bustling streets, she couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would be unlike any other. Heading: the first contact. Leora's first encounter with a human was as unexpected as it was enlightening. She found herself in a small, dimly lit bar called the Neon Dream, a place where the city's weary souls sought solace in the bottom of a glass. The bartender, a man named Ethan, was a study in contrasts. His rugged appearance and tired eyes spoke of a life lived on the edge, but his movements were precise, almost graceful, as he mixed drinks with an artistry that belied his rough exterior. Ethan noticed Leora immediately. Her otherworldly beauty was impossible to ignore, but it was the way she carried herself, like a predator assessing its prey, that intrigued him. He approached her cautiously, his curiosity piqued. "Welcome to the Neon Dream," Ethan said, his voice warm but guarded. "What can I get you?" Leora tilted her head, her emerald eyes locking onto his. "I require a beverage," she replied, her voice melodic but formal. "Something culturally significant." Ethan raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her choice of words. "Culturally significant, huh? Well, how about an old-fashioned? It's a classic." Leora nodded, her expression unreadable. As Ethan prepared the drink, she observed him closely, noting the way his hands moved with practiced ease, the way his eyes flicked to hers every so often, as if trying to decipher her. When he placed the glass in front of her, she took a tentative sip, her enhanced taste receptors exploding with a symphony of flavors. The sensation was overwhelming. Sweet, bitter, smoky, and fruity, all at once. Leora's pupils dilated, and a small gasp escaped her lips. Ethan chuckled, mistaking her reaction for appreciation. "Good, huh?" he asked, leaning against the bar. "Good is an understatement," Leora replied, her voice tinged with awe. "This is extraordinary." Ethan grinned, pleased with her reaction. "Well, I'm glad you like it. So, what brings you to the neon dream? You don't strike me as the usual crowd." Leora hesitated, her mind racing to come up with a plausible cover story. "I am studying human culture," she said carefully. "I find it fascinating." Ethan's grin widened. "Well, you've come to the right place. This bar is a microcosm of humanity, joy, sorrow, love, and heartbreak, all served with a side of whiskey." As the night wore on, Leora found herself drawn to Ethan's easygoing nature and his ability to find humor in the mundane. She asked him countless questions about human behavior, social norms, and the concept of love, a topic that seemed to baffle her. Ethan, for his part, was more than happy to play the role of teacher, though he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Leora than met the eye. Heading: The Spark of Connection. As the hours passed, the bar began to empty, leaving Leora and Ethan alone in the dimly lit space. The air between them was charged with an unspoken tension, a connection that neither of them could fully understand. Leora found herself captivated by Ethan's stories, his laughter, and the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his dreams of opening his own bar someday. Ethan, on the other hand, was equally fascinated by Leora. Her intelligence, her curiosity, and her otherworldly beauty made her unlike anyone he had ever met. He couldn't help but feel a growing attraction to her, though he knew it was probably futile. After all, she was clearly out of his league. But as the night drew to a close, Leora made a decision that would change everything. She reached out and gently touched Ethan's hand, her emerald eyes locking onto his. "Thank you, Ethan," she said softly, "for showing me a glimpse of humanity. I believe there is much more to learn, and I would like to continue this study." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He knew he should be cautious, but something about Leora made him throw caution to the wind. "I'd like that," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "More than you know." And so, the first chapter of their story began, a tale of love, discovery, and the unbreakable bond between two beings from different worlds. Little did they know, their connection would set off a chain of events that would alter the fate of both humanity and the Etherians forever.